So just like with a lot of the videos this time of year, it really feels like you're not looking at much. For those of you that do nursery work or are into growing trees from seed, you can probably see the value here. Every one of these gray stems is a pawpaw, and a whole lot of them are now over a foot tall, 14 inches tall, some are even 18 inches tall. And they've been in this bed for 2 years. So we are in mid-April 2018, and in the fall of 2016, I dumped 2 or 3, maybe just 2, 5-gallon buckets of rotting pawpaw fruit in this bed, poured some wood chips on top, and that was it. They overwintered. They sprouted very, very late in the season last year, and then grew, and now they're ready to be dug out. I could leave them another year, but they're getting a little bit tight in here. But what I didn't do is, in this case, store these seeds in particular containers and then bring them out and put them on heat mats and transplant them or root prune them or any of that. These are just rotten fruit dumped in the fall when the fruit was ready, covered in wood chips, allowed to overwinter. And of course, some must have died, but enough came up that we're at a really good density. And you're seeing lots of garlic. That's because I used to grow garlic in here, and I missed some of the tops. But the garlic is completely compatible with them. It's not in the way. And now as I go through, I'm using a really sturdy nursery spade. This is, I think, called the King of Spades, which cuts really, really deep. I'll put a link to this in the description. You may be interested in something like this. But what that lets me do is cut very, very deep and actually get these plants out with the whole root system, which you can see is significant. Now, when I sell a second-year pawpaw, that's a very fine example of a pretty high-value tree and one that can be set out in a field context without much fuss. Good deep taproot, really nice feeder hairs, ready to go. And all from just dumping rotten fruit in the fall, mulching, and leaving it for a while. I'm not sure if I got my timing right. They had 2 growing seasons here, so whatever that works out, that the fall 2 seasons before, was that 2015? No, 20... Anyway, you can crunch the numbers. I'll write it in the description. The moral of the story is, without irrigation, without fuss, a little bit of weeding in year 1, but really more than anything, it's just about leaving these plants for a little while longer to mature. I would venture a guess I can rustle up maybe 150 to 200 pawpaws, many of them at really beautiful size, very saleable, and many of them quite small, but certainly could be transplanted out into another nursery bed to grow for 1 more year and become nice and large like these bigger ones. So even in spacing like this, I mean, I've got 8+ trees in a few square inches. Here's 3 trees in 3 square inches, all looking beautiful. And here's the real kicker as well. If I zoom out a little, you can see we've got muck standing water, so very poorly drained, very anaerobic muck silt soil. And this bomber about 6 feet to the west is a massive black walnut, Juglans nigra, which by most people's account is a tree that you cannot do anything under. Well, pawpaws adore black walnut, so there's one idea, is to have a pawpaw nursery under your black walnut, which I mentioned in another video. But just exciting to lift these trees after waiting a while, dumping rotting fruit, pouring wood chips, waiting a while, ... lots of value. I could start a pawpaw orchard, an acre of pawpaws from this one bed, most likely. And all in a context where there's no irrigation, there's no plastic season extension, there's no machines to till. It's all a deep, deep additive no-till system. And up until I was in here, being a whole big noisy human, it even has the benefit of being lovely wildlife habitat. There's 2 little chickadees that are actively bringing moss into here to raise their young. So it can be an ecologically gentle space to grow all these trees as well. So that's Paw Paws in muck soil under a black walnut, rotten fruit to big beautiful trees. And as I scan through the rest of this, obviously I won't go through all of them, but there are all sorts of examples here of Quercus alba, the white acorn, white oak, left for a year, 2 years, all sorts of things happening, cuttings, all that. We'll go into other videos with that, but strong encouragement is collect fruit and nuts from trees at the time that they are dropping them, and if time allows and space allows, consider planting them as soon as you can just to see what happens. That's what wild things do, and we can be wild things too. So here's to Paw Paws. And let's hope it's a nice sale this weekend and folks go away with some beautiful trees. And they don't need to know the secret trick of how I got them here.